Here we're back again on Forex Jesus 2.0. Now on today's video, on today's session or lesson, we're actually going to be covering, like the previous lesson we covered how to trade a breakout. Now let us take a look at how to trade a retest. This is important because normally after breakouts retest happens, but retest is not like the only strategy that you should be depending on because they don't happen all the time. So the first point that we're going to be taking a look at is that trading a retest is actually much simpler than it seems, because all you do is basically follow the support. The support turns into resistance method, or resistance turns into support method, meaning that in the resistance, in the trading a retest, it's actually simple because you have a resistance and then it breaks out. Okay, you confirm that it's a breakout. Someone would buy after it breaks out that resistance, or someone would wait for it. So you wait for it and then it comes back, and then it treats it as support. So after treating it as support, what do? You basically just start to look for a long trade. So that's why I say it's actually easy. Follow all the steps on the previous lessons to ensure that you are able to trade a breakout, because a retest normally happens after a breakout. So you need to take a deeper look into the previous lesson on which we were speaking about how to trade a breakout. So after that happens, because normally after a breakout, that's when these retests happen. So you need to know when the breakout happened and then now expect a retest, which they don't happen all the time. Once you have confirmed your breakout, you need to start looking for these two scenarios. Either you expect a retest in a correction form that prints a pattern, or you allow price to simply go back and reject on that area it breaks out on. So basically what happens is that once you confirm your breakout, once the breakout has happened, you need to start looking for these two scenarios. So you expect the retest in a correction form. So let's say now you are at a resistance level. I'll also jump onto the whiteboard to show you, but you're at the resistance level. Price broke out impulsively, then now it's coming back. So the first method would be you looking at how price gets to that level, critical level that was previously resistance, now support. If it gets there, moving in a pattern that shows that it's going to break to the upside, that's a perfect sign of you to be looking for longs. And the second method would be you just waiting for price to go back at that critical level, like that previous resistance now into support. Once it gets there, wait for a candlestick that prints out like a rejection, that shows that price is going to go back to the upside, like a hammer or something like that. Now the fourth point is, most importantly, you need to wait for a candlestick confirmation as a signal of taking the trade. This is important. You do know that to take a trade, the signal that you wait for are these retests. But before I waste more time on this, let us jump onto the whiteboard so I show you guys what it is that I'm speaking, what it is that I mean, and then you can also have a much more better understanding and a deeper understanding of trading these retests. Okay, so now we are gonna be taking a look at the retest, like trading a retest. So basically what it is that you look at the breakout, you follow the previous lesson, remember you master how breakouts happen. Once you have seen that the breakout has occurred, that's when you can start looking for a retest. So let's say now, for instance, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, okay? And now price broke right here, it broke structures right here. As you can see, this is a breakout. It broke out of the resistance, previous resistance, now turning into support. Because what happens to you is that you follow, it's simple, like you follow the normal support turning into resistance method, that's what you do. And once, let's say, once it does, after breaking out the resistance, getting back to the point where there will be a support that's like in a trend line form or just the horizontal one. Once it gets there, you can either look to take a long to the upside, because like as you can see, previous resistance, now support, and also you'd be backing it up with also all the evidence that you'd have. You need to back up a lot of evidence before you can just jump into this. There's such as candlestick confirmation, direction, momentum, patterns. And one thing that I noticed too with retest is that normally it can either play out maybe as two types. Like it can either come to the support area in a correction form, which would be nice. It's much more you get to take it much more better that way. If not, it can either get to that point in a, like let's say it gets exactly at that point and then it starts to give you a candlestick, whereby it doesn't have to be like in a correction. That's a correction, something like, okay, something like moving downwards like this, okay? Then you take it like this. This is amazing. This would be nice as when it moves, because you can see that, okay, it's approaching support with with the correction, and this correction printed a pattern that brings to the upside. You can take advantage of that, but if not, you can just wait for it to get to that significant level, see what pattern it prints out. As soon as it confirms with the pattern, take the trade to the upside. So there's two types of things. Sorry about that. So there's also like one that would be like, let's say it's a Okay, let's now you have your third touch, 1 2 3, then maybe it comes all the way down. You can see now, comes all the way down, it breaks out of structure. Normally what price would do is that price can just come all the way back to here, then go back down, and as you can see, it's starting to create, this was high, this is now lower high, and these are lower lows, and so on. Like it's also a breakout method that you can take. But just by remembering the third point, let's say after the multi-touch, okay, yes, it broke out, like it has to break out. Before you take a retest, you have to understand breakouts and how they happen, and it has to happen, a breakout has to happen before we can speak of retest. So after this breakout happened, price comes. Now it's the same thing, we look for two types of things. It can price, it can either move upwards in a corrective form, then you take a sell. This is much more higher probable for me, I prefer this method. But if not, let's say if you don't prefer something like this, or let's say this didn't come, but instead what you can do is that you can just wait for price to just go, shouldn't close above here, give a candlestick that confirms that we're going downwards, and then take a sell here. Obviously stop loss would be here, and then your first target would be here, but obviously going all the way downwards. So this is something that you need to take a look at when trading retests. So let us jump onto the chart so you see what it is that I mean. I want to share with you this method of like trading retesting. Like, so like what happens is that like retest is actually a bit more advanced like compared to the breakout method, because retesting, what you do is that you wait for a breakout to happen. You have to know what a breakout is, how breakouts happen, and all these things, which are the things that we covered in the previous lesson. So now as we evolve, as we just better our strategy, trading retest can either be in two ways. It can be a retest that broke out of a trend line, or it could be a retest that is like horizontal support or resistance that broke out and it's now retesting. So let us look at the points, and then I'll touch a bit more deeper into that. Trading a retest is actually much simpler than it seems, because all you do is basically follow the support turns into resistance method, or resistance turns into support. That is true. So like what this means actually is like, let's say when you take a look at supporting support level, and then it breaks out. Now we actually experienced a breakout that we've been waiting for, or that we wanted to experience it. Maybe it doesn't allow us to get nice entries, or some sort of, or maybe it's just not it doesn't give us good risk to rewards. So instead, let's say a person decides to wait for a retest, but you don't just wait for a retest and when it gets there you sell or buy. No, you actually follow a few candlestick confirmations too that come into play, such as like what we always speak about 1 hour. We look for things such as candlestick confirmation. So you follow all the steps on the previous lesson to ensure that you are able to trade the breakout. You need to be sure that you are able to trade the breakout. And once you have confirmed the breakout, you need to start looking for these two scenarios. Either you expect a retest in a correction form that prints in a pattern, or you allow price to simply go back to the reject on the area it has broken out of. So basically what this means is that now I'm looking at gold, and now currently let's place some support lines here. So I'd say that these are my support lines. So if points price closes below this line and below this line, that's a solid breakout for me. That would be a solid breakout for me. So one thing that I do is that I allow myself to see, and then I'm going to show you a different type of a method whereby you can be able to apply this. Okay, so I just want price to push down a bit, so we take a look at, let me move it a bit faster, I think it's a bit slow. There we go. Okay, so just by taking a look at structure going all the way to the downside, we want price to at least close below here with the candlestick that shows a momentum. We need to see momentum in our candlesticks, because if we don't see momentum, now that's something different. If we don't see momentum, now we're going to start to ask ourselves on what kind of a breakout is this. Okay, let's see, here's a candle. Our first candle, as you can see, it's playing slightly below, but as the second one closes below this trend line and also below this one here, that's going to be something that we're looking for. Okay, we are looking for, the mindset that you have now is that you're looking for a breakout, you're not looking for a retest. Retest is what you look for after a breakout. So I want to show you guys on how to expect a breakout, and then how to go from looking for a breakout to evolving into a retest. As we say, that is a bit more advanced. So I don't know why this thing is taking a bit longer to load. Said every 2 seconds. Okay, let me just make it be a bit fast, every 1 second. Okay, price should push down a bit. Okay, you see, didn't close. This candle didn't close below. Let's see what the next candle does or say. But as you can see, just by understanding structure on the 1 hour time frame, we'd know that this is a 6 to 8 hour correction. But now we're using the 4 hour time frame, so I'd allow us to actually see it. Okay, just go forward with, like, there we go. Okay, something, let's wait here. Okay, that was a bit too fast. There you go. Okay, so basically what this is like, just by taking a look at this, just by having a closer look at this, you can see that now price has broken out of structure impossibly, and the fact that like it closed way below this support line, and it also closed way below this trend line that we have here. This is actually a breakout. So with breakouts, what you do is that you normally have your stop, stop like this, allow profits to just be somewhere close to here, profits, and obviously targets would be at least here, somewhere close to here, something like this. This would be a setup that you're looking at, and then you tell yourself that, okay, no, let me just allow this to show me what's happening. Let me just let price to just move a few pips forward. Okay, but cannot. Okay, I don't know what happened here, but I just had to exit out. Actually, what I wanted to show you guys is like how you can be able to capitalize on this. Okay, let me just move backwards and use this. I think maybe it's because of the 4-hour time frame that I used. But let me just go back to the structure that I had. Okay, right here. There we go. Yes. Okay, so like now that breakout happened, and then you've been looking for sell stops here. Now you had your sell stop here. You have your stop loss somewhere close to here. And your target obviously all the way down to somewhere here. I don't know, somewhere down here. Okay. So this is what you're looking at. And now you tell yourself that, okay, no, it broke out, but now it's moving upwards in a corrective manner. Now remember, we look for either two things, whether it moves upwards in a corrective manner, or we actually just wait for price to get to a resistance level, and then we look at what the candlestick does or say. So now in this manner, we have two types of points. We have that it's moving upwards in a corrective manner. As you can see, just kept on correctively moving upwards. Here we got a nice push to the upside. It came to the resistance zone, and also this, remember, is a resistance zone. So now we're looking at the method of support turns into resistance. So this was previous support, this was also previous support. It broke out, now it's turning into resistance. So this actually allows us to wait for a candlestick confirmation to see what a candlestick does or say. You normally see in our live sessions whereby I would be like, let's wait for candlestick confirmations around these areas. So these are the zones that we wait for and we look for. So as soon as we get this kind of a candlestick, this kind of, most importantly on this resistance zone, which confirms that now it's a retest. It has retested, gave us a candlestick confirmation even. So this is a perfect sign for us to actually take a trade on this, have our stop loss below here. Remember, this trade didn't get activated, so you just take this trade and then you move it up to here where it's much better, and then you just still have the same targets, which is like somewhere down to here. And you can see even now with price came, pushed, broke the previous lows, and now it's coming back, retesting the same armor resistance zone. Unfortunately, we can see price moving a bit more to the downside in the near future. So let me just remove this and see what on the 1-hour time frame is saying, and then you'll be able to just understand on how these retests and these breakouts actually do happen. So also just by looking at the 1-hour time frame, you can see what the structure is telling us. Just by understanding structure, being in the group, understanding how we trade, you'd simply see that this is actually going to eventually break to the downside, and then we're going to continue going to the downside, riding it. So you can either choose to add more positions, or we can instead just allow that first one to float nicely in profits. But this is actually how to trade a retest. I hope that you guys actually get a lot of value from this. I hope that you actually practice, because the most important thing is to practice, see if you are seeing the same thing that we're seeing, understand these facts, and it's like just go through this and experience it, instead of just wanting to be the one that's like literally experience it, just instead of just taking notes and knowing what's happening but not experience. That way you're gonna make a few mistakes, you're gonna learn from those mistakes, then you're gonna become a better trader in the end. But let us move on to the next lesson.